Shift Up gained a lot of attention because of Stellar Blade, and so many gamers were defending them from the mainstream media who was attacking them simply for putting fan service into their product. And recently we found out that Shift Up went public, but now we're also finding out that this developer is seeking employees to publish ESG reports. I have a few things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, this is a big reason why I personally do not give companies the benefit of the doubt. You could make amazing products, and while I will continue to buy them because you've proven yourself, I don't really trust companies because they're filled with people who are just looking to make money in any way, shape, or form. And if they're told they can make a boatload of money off of, following ESG, they will do it. And that is exactly what is happening here because we had recently found out that they officially went public, which sounds really good for them because they raised $320 million in their IPO. However, it was also revealed that the company is hiring an employee to publish ESG reports now, and this really isn't that shocking when you find out that they've gone public because it says the games industry reports the IPO is the largest one in South Korea in over 2 years and the first to raise over $50 million since PUBG developer Krafton raised $3.8 billion in 2021, and it says in fact it was the second largest IPO in South Korea in 2024, only behind HD Hyundai Marine Solutions' $553 million offerings earlier this year, and they're really not that far off. But now we're finding out that after the company went public, a job posting on the company's website was discovered by an ex-user, Panda Casual, for an IR representative or manager. One of their duties in this position is to lead a team in the publication of ESG reports. Now, of course, ESG stands for environment, social, and governance, and many companies have them in order to obtain money through various ESG fundings. Like when you hear BlackRock, we instantly think of ESG. And of course, there is some, questionable information when it comes to them going public and specifically companies who have already decided to dip into this. I mean, of course, we had Tencent at 20% stake. Now, even though Tencent doesn't control it, 20% is a large stake and means they will have a seat at the table regarding what's going on at the company, and that means appeasing the CCP. But in general, going public means leaving yourself open to investors anywhere with whatever motives they have, like BlackRock and ESG. Now, regarding the Tencent situation, this isn't very surprising, seeing as Shift Up and Tencent have had a business relationship for many years at this point, specifically with Goddess of Victory. It's not shocking to hear that, this is continuing, and they did end up, as it says, buying some of the stakes in the company, but at the same time, it is definitely very worrying because, again, they're really leaving themselves open to investors anywhere with any kind of motive. Now, of course, I've talked a lot about Stellar Blade on the channel, and I had a really great time playing it. I actually live streamed a new game plus run of it as well with the new content like the newer outfits and the boss challenge mode, which was fantastic. And I know that they have so many other features they're planning to add, like a camera mode that people are very excited for. But ultimately, while I don't think we're going to see any more changes with Stellar Blade 1, because of course Sony did force them to censor, the graffiti and some of the outfits, it is very worrying looking to the future with their games. Goddess of Victory does have a lot of fan service, Stellar Blade does have a lot of fan service, but of course, the stories did not contain any DEI messaging. It didn't push any narratives, and the characters were not, DEI inserts. But going forward with Stellar Blade 2, I definitely would be a little bit more worried, definitely a lot more hesitant. Of course, I know that the trust between Shift Up and gamers is definitely not in the best of spots because they had lied to us days before release. They said nothing was going to be censored, and then, spoiler alert, there was censored content, so I know that really turned a lot of people off from supporting them going forward, but I do think that they create really good games. It's just that when a company goes public, public, there is a lot to worry about. And if you want to, sit and constantly, research this company, then you're up to date. But there are a lot of things that we will never know about, and we don't know ultimately how these different companies and individuals at them are going to affect their products going forward, and it is definitely quite worrying. Now, of course, not only do they perform poorly, but they don't actually deliver on what they promise. The ESG funds don't seem to deliver better ESG performance either. Researchers at Columbia University and London School of Economics compared the ESG record of U.S. companies in 147 ESG fund portfolios and that of U.S. companies in 2,428 non ESG portfolios. They found that the companies in the ESG portfolios had worse compliance record for both labor and environmental rules. They found the companies added to ESG portfolios did not subsequently improve compliance with labor or environmental regulations. They even go on to note that ESG targets may distort decision making. And in fact, a report from Wall Street Journal noted that a branch of ESG DEI, or diversity, equity, and inclusion, is indeed a scam based off faulty research done by activist organizations. Now, let's be honest, as it says, when it comes to companies basically dipping into ESG funds, they think it's going to gain them a lot more popularity. They think it's going to get them a lot more money, and they think they are going to become a bigger company because of it. But we have seen time and time again that that is in fact not the case. And there are many people now actually, vowing to boycott Shift Up going forward because of this decision to hire someone in an ESG position to publish ESG reports, and also just because they went public. I know Mark Kern, aka Grums, had posted this saying Shift Up has fallen. After going public, they will be required to publish ESG reports. Everyone does this, including Tesla. So we will have to see what the final reports focus on. And there are tons of people saying, this is not a good thing. He also followed up with saying technically ESG reports are not required by law, very true, but they are required in the sense that large corporate bond credit rating agencies and investment firms want them, which is definitely a fact. But there's tons of people saying things like, wow, that was fast. I thought Congress was making this illegal. After they censored Stellar Blade, who cares? Shift Up lost their credibility long ago and were more than willing to lie to all of our faces, and before and after release, they were clearly compromised in a dozen other ways. Now we know it's going to be a dozen plus one instead, which is very true. I know that they did break a lot of trust with people. I go into games being very hesitant, and I still thought that it was a really good experience, but ultimately, yes, they did lie and they did change things before launch, and it's probably at the behest of Sony, judging by how quickly it all happened. And we know that the graffiti was at least at the behest of Sony because they were caving to activists who were triggered by it in the previews. And going forward, we don't know if they are going to change for the better, for the worse. They never really apologized. They kept teasing us, saying that there was going to be updates that we've all been waiting for, and then they were just more costumes. So I get it, right? A lot of people do not trust them at this point in time, which I completely understand. There's also people saying, I personally don't think this means much. Companies publish ESG reports, and some companies publish reports that are in some ways a middle finger to the idea of ESG, and we will have to wait and see how Shift Up responds to this, how they move. It isn't necessarily a sign that they are going to fall and that they are going to go completely woke, but at the end of the day, we don't know, and it is very good to be very hesitant. So it will be interesting to see over the next, few weeks and months, how they respond to some of the backlash, if, they end up putting out any more content for Stellar Blade, because they have promised quite a bit, again, like the photo mode that we haven't really heard anything about. We don't know if going into something like a Stellar Blade 2, if it is going to be wildly different. Only time will tell. I will definitely be keeping my eye on this, because again, we did support Shift Up so much at the launch of Stellar Blade, and it made them so much money. They said it was overwhelmingly successful, which is fantastic, but at the same time, they're making a lot of questionable moves right now that people are definitely not happy with. So it will be curious to see what happens going forward, but for now, that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.